Ermombi que era de São. Ai, Duran, que vinha rosto direito, que vinha corpora para de Sande. Tem dor de paloma, que com sapadilho, Wilson com Sandro também. Fofa com Jéssica, nunca se vi que cuida na boca. Como este da la minha nome, pra que quando brinca com minha nome. Nunca se vi que cuida na boca. Como este da la minha nome, pra que quando brinca com minha nome. Um padilho lembra na terra sagrado. Cacheu da Silva, a mi gêmea de Quichão. Terra de Cobiana, oi.
Music has such power to tell stories. Music in itself, even without words, music tells stories. And music connects with the past, it connects with identities, it connects with history, it connects with personal histories. So that's why I think music and history make such a wonderful combination.
To deal with this history of the whole region, which is very crucial in the perspective of the history of West Africa, because of the position, the geographical position of Senegambia. It's a very small space, but this small space had the chance to have all the ecological system of West Africa, the Sahel, the savanna, and the forest, and the mangrove, all together at the peak, at the end of this continent. And at the same time, it is the resume, the summary of the whole population of West Africa that you can find in this small space. And so I think our identity can be explained by the ecological factor, but also the historical factor, which is dominated by the importance of the Atlantic since the 15th century. And so we can say today, what is permanent is the diversity of the identities that you can find there, but also the brassage, mixing of all these identities all together.
It is we, the new generation, that feels Gambia and Senegal are two different countries. My father never accepted that, and he never believes Gambia and Senegal is not one country, because these words were not in his vocabulary when he was born and growing up. The concept of Senegal has been given to us by foreign colonialists, and Gambia also has been given us by foreign colonialists. So it is we who should come out with the acceptance or the denial. Are we going to still call ourselves Gambians and Senegalese, or are we going to call ourselves as Africans or Senegambia? So this song is about that.
musical da Guiné-Bissau, onde quem está triste fica alegre.
It's a music style that those who are sad became happy.
Tem muita força,
There's lots of power,
tem muita energia,
lots of energy.
E uma pessoa acaba por dançar sem quiser dançar.
And you just you get helpless just to dance.
Eu creio que o Gumbe acabou por ter um papel decisivo na luta de libertação nacional. Eu creio que o Gumbe acaba por ser também maneira de dizer não, queremos a nossa liberdade, a nossa expressão musical e queremos a nossa verdade, da nossa identidade e a nossa história.
So religion, as far as Guinea-Bissau is concerned, it's both a continuity from the youth point of view, but it is also a discontinuity. So religion, going back to what we heard yesterday from Maneka, I would like to use that word. Religion in Guinea-Bissau is more of an ngumbe rather than a practice of one particular belonging that may be that Catholicism, Islam, or Protestantism, or African tradition of religion for that matter. I'm not talking about ngumbe religion here as a mixture or mixing. I struggle with that word in my book and in other articles that I have published. I use the word creolization. But creolization I'm using here not in the sense of mixing, not in the sense of putting things together, but it is a dialogue. In Patriziadi's word, it is energy field in which things come together. They may not necessarily mix, but they have a form of communicating.
Muitas vezes nós tocamos mais em dois acordes.
And most of the time we play in only 2 chords.
1 and 5.
Which is 1 and 5.
Like this.
En África, cuando dice un joven, hablamos de 15 años.
So in Africa, when you say, she wants to talk about her own experience, but she says in Africa, or in Guinea, Conakry, when you say someone is young, you're talking about someone who's 15.
Porque hace años las mujeres ya se casaban a los 13 años.
Yeah.
Because in the past, until recently, women would be married by the age of 13.
Normalmente eso no debería ser porque son prematuros, no, todavía no son jóvenes, para mí son niñas que yo no acepto eso.
She doesn't accept that. She says if you're 13, you're still a child. You're not even a youth.
Pero es la tradicional y poder luchar contra eso.
But that's tradition, and it's hard to fight it.
Y yo tengo 23 años, me casé a los 18.
She's 23. She got married when she was 18.
Y tuve mi hija a los 19 años.
She had her child when she was 19.
Pero para mí, aún yo sigo siendo joven, pero muy joven. Me considero muy joven y sigo disfrutando de la vida.
He says, but I still think of myself as being young, very young, and I can still enjoy life.
Pero en África, yo cuando me fui en África vi mis amigas que están casadas, digo, hostia, parecen viejas que la han desformado. No pueden ni peinarse bien, no pueden llevar pantalón, tienen que llevar ropa de vieja y eso, ¿no? Yo siempre digo, en las canciones o hablando, tú corazón. Si, aunque tú tienes 50 años, si te sientes joven, pero ale, disfruta de la vida y ya está. Punto.
Youth is a kind of gendered category. But, John, you somehow interpret youth as a kind of age category, and I think that no longer applies to many West African countries, like also what Makani and also Jose said. People enter into marriage at a men enter into a marriage at a much older age. So I think youth has become a very flexible category, and I think that's also what Alcinda Honwana mentions when she speaks about youth in waithood.
If Kangaroon comes out, it's accompanied by about 10 young men. They can vary in age. They can be, from 6 onwards to 60. And so the status of the Kangaroon depends on the age of the people accompanying you. So clearly, this whole heritageization of Kangaroon comes with, with new forms of audience. Performer-audience relationships. Anyway, just to make the point that although this process of objectification is clearly happening to the performance, meanwhile, youth are still, experimenting, exploring new possibilities, and continuing to produce an entertaining performance, irrespective of all the regulations that elders and UNESCO might want to impose on them.
What is amazing is about how Senegambia was linked to Louisiana, but also especially what Boubacar Bari called La Senegambie du Sud, Southern Senegambia. Le pays des riziculteurs, the land of the rice growers. I call it rice land. Something else also survived in Louisiana. Some of you probably know what I'm talking about, the Mardi Gras Indians in New Orleans. This is a way for the black people to acknowledge the help they got from the Indians in the early days of Louisiana, of French Louisiana. Earlier, Mr. De Jong, you talked about people singing around the Kankurang. I also heard people singing around the Kankurang about Mama Chori. Sabare, Mama Chori, Sabare. And Mama Chori, according to what I was told, is Mama Jumbo. Mama Jumbo is a deity of fecundity and the protector of mothers and their children among the rice growers of Casamance and Guinea-Bissau. And Mama Jumbo is everywhere until today in Louisiana. They don't call her anymore Mama Jumbo, they call her Mambo Jumbo. There is a song, it is a poem. Be careful what you do, O Mama Jumbo, the god of the Congo, and all the other gods of the Congo will hoodoo you.
being in descent communities is something that's passed down from one generation to the next within a griot family. You have to be in the bloodline, and that's the way this Sabar knowledge gets passed down. But when you have these situations in which many griot drummers are going elsewhere, to Europe, to North America, you start having a shift, I think, from the importance of the descent community to the affinity community, where you have new groups of people, new communities who are not born into the tradition, but have come to know Sabar just through their love of drumming.
Most of my performance for so many years of being here, they are either a band context or collaborative context. So I'm most of the time playing my own music. Either I'm playing a Brazilian music or collaborating with different people, where you bring something and then they kind of twist it a little bit so that it make it more interesting, give them a platform to express themselves, so it kind of loses the pure traditional context. So that way of working, it kind of makes you always keep that in mind in your compositions. So therefore, yeah, that kind of changes a lot the way I approach the kora. Something like that.
Mais j'ai eu la chance d'écouter beaucoup des autres instrumentistes.
I feel like to listen a lot of instruments.
Voilà, donc,
instrument players.
Voilà, donc j'ai essayé maintenant de vraiment changer ma façon, puisque le balafon, c'est un truc qui est très rapide. En Europe, ici, on ne comprend pas ce que vraiment, quand un balafoniste se joue, on ne le comprend pas, tellement c'est trop rapide. Mais moi aussi, j'ai essayé de jouer pendant que les gens dorment. Il écoute la musique, mais il dort. Le morceau que je vais faire, ça, c'est un morceau c'est un très vieux morceau, Sujata. Donc, dans l'ancienneté, quand on le joue comme ça. C'est bon, mais ça fait un peu mal aux oreilles.
But it's a bit painful when you
Bon, maintenant, si vraiment tu veux que tout le monde a assez dormir et écouter.
Now, if you want people to listen this to while they are relaxing.
Voilà, donc j'ai essayé de faire un.
And this is his arrangement of it.
I've been really struck by the fact that two red threads that are really at the core of our work have been emerging throughout this conference. The dichotomy between fusion and fission, convergences, divergences, boundaries and transcending them at various levels. So for me, as a linguist, it always meant that I found it was an essential task for us to try and make sense of this dichotomy in Lower Casamance, where we have more than 30 named languages and a great cultural convergence, yet this extreme multilingualism and the maintenance of these very complex repertoires. So you have this fusion, this mixed passage that we have evoked all the time, yet you have this maintenance of we are Bailuk in some contexts, we are Gudjahar, Nandanjahar in some contexts, we are Diola in other contexts. That's not seen as a contradiction, but as a particular contextualized social political identity. So small vulnerable groups that needed to maintain these close ties and needed to multiply alliances, and they could not become similar because at the same time this was the epicenter of these transatlantic slave trade. So they needed to be able to other groups or individuals because they needed to participate in the slave trade, we know, in order to be able to protect themselves at the same time. So it's a very dialectic identity. And I think maintaining multiple identities and indexing them also through different languages in different contexts was a strategic tool to maintain that. So to be similar and different in the right context.
For me, the thread that has bound it all together is the holistic way in which we have to view the peoples and the cultures and the histories and the music of the region. And of course, that's one of the things which makes our job, or certainly my job, teaching in this city, difficult, because of course Western academia encourages us to divide into discipline and categorize. And one of the things we've seen is just how inappropriate that is as a way of thinking about this region.
This has been a great conference. It's so good to have history and music brought together. It's so great to bring in all of these people from all over the world, multilingual conference, and a conference in which people have been laid back and not constrained by having to read boring papers. Not one single person has gone to sleep during any of these sessions, which is the highest praise I can give it. It's been fun, and it's also been a fantastic learning curve for most of us, I think. Great conference.
Ha 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 ha! Hey,